Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Monica.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 1 of season 1 of the new show, Strange New Worlds. We're talking about the season premiere of this episode, and this one starts about a year after Discovery season 2 ends. And we see that Pike is in a little bit of a recluse at this moment, and he now has to come back to Starfleet, and we don't know if he really wants to, all because his number one is missing. There's a lot going on. Spock is cheating on me, and we have a lot to discuss in this episode. He doesn't know he is, so we're going to forgive him. So let's get into it. Initial reactions. Monica, what did you think of this new show?
I like the connection to Discovery and to the second season. It seems to pick up where season 2 ends for Star Trek Discovery, but about a year later. And I like that part to understand the timeline. I like the fact that it's making a connection also to direct episodes, like what happens to Pike after finding out that he knows his future and his death, and then also what happens to civilizations who find out more about what happens as opposed to be classified to the rest of Starfleet. So I like that. There's many other aspects of this episode I do not like, and I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Oh my gosh, guys, could it be that I have the positive attitude this episode? Yeah, you've heard it first, guys. I'm not dead inside this episode. Yay!
That would be me.
I didn't say that. Her words, not mine. I actually really liked episode 1. I do feel like it could have been it was lacking in a few areas because they were just sort of starting this whole new world for us. But it was a great start to, I'm hoping will be a wonderful season. It was great to see, like you said, them reference things that happened in Discovery. We get to see that Spock said he misses his sister. It's not like they're moving on and completely forgetting everything that happened while they were on Discovery. It was great to meet the new characters that we got to meet. And it was great seeing Pike again and seeing number 1 again and seeing Spock again, even though, again, he's cheating on me. He doesn't know it yet, but it's okay. It was great to see. It was great to see these characters and still seeing them hold true to who they were in the other show. Because I do feel like sometimes when there's ever a branch off, they try to give like the characters a little bit of a shift change in personality to make them their own. And I think they already made these characters their own in Discovery. And we got to see more of that here versus like, oh, whoa. You're not who you were 2 episodes ago. What is going on? So I'm very excited. I'm very hopefully optimistic that with the way this episode went, more to episodic sagas versus season sagas. So I'm excited to dive right into the show.
See, that's where I disagree because I see character shifts between like Uhura and Spock in the original series. So yeah.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about the original series. I was talking about from Discovery because Uhura wasn't in that one.
Right. Yeah. But they are making changes to those characters.
Because we didn't get to see Uhura in Discovery, right?
Correct. Sounds like this is her first tour.
Yeah, because she's still a cadet. They called her a cadet.
Yep.
I will say this. I don't know how I feel about her yet. Because she is a little bit more perky than I expected.
Yes.
I didn't really know how I felt about that, but I'm not. In my mind, she may not have gone through the thing that makes her who she is. That we'll know her to be. Since it's like her first out of school. Like, you're still green behind the gills, basically.
Right.
Like you haven't been in the world yet.
Yeah, she's part of a training program, but she's already on the bridge.
Yeah, because she's that good. Black girl magic, just loving it, just saying. But I will say the opening scene of this show was very low tech in the sense of it was showing how much Pike was removing himself from the world. And the Pike that we met in Discovery was full of life, vibrant, happy, like just making friends with everyone. And this one was like, I'm ignoring all of your calls. He has like a girlfriend or a side chick or whatever she is, who's like, I really hope you're not here when I come back. But she meant it in an actual, like, please get on your ship and like go do something. And Pike still hasn't really come to terms with what he saw in Discovery, which again was a great tie back to Discovery. I'm like, oh, I love it. You're not excluding that from this universe, since you know it's completely classified. You can't talk about it. And I just wanted to hug Pike. I just wanted to give him a bit, like, he's like that father figure that you're just like, oh, you're such a great guy. You care about everyone. And I see you're going through something very, very dangerous. So not dangerous, but something very, very sad. And because of what you went through to save the world, and you can't really talk about it with anyone because it's classified. So you're dealing with it with yourself. I just want to give you a big hug and just say, I don't know if it's going to be all right because you know the future, but I'm sorry. Like, I'm here for you now. What did you think of Pike's opening scene? How we got to meet him this season?
It shows a sensitive side to him, and previously we've seen him go through a lot, right? But in this case, he seems to be like out on a retreat, like a vacation. He wanted to escape Starfleet while the Enterprise is under repairs, and he grew out a beard. And those are the fluffiest pancakes I've ever seen. With strawberries. It was
homeboy can cook. He don't need to get back on the ship. He can just keep cooking for me, please.
But he was watching old black and white movie about like first contact. So it seems as though he just needed to retreat a bit. Next to his comm, was it like a really old phone? So yeah, his place looks very old school, like very, I don't know, natural cabin kind of Montana vibe compared to his ship quarters, which is much more modern. But yeah, he was riding his course out and he wanted some time away, didn't want to answer the phone from work, wanted to complete some downtime. And his retreat was interrupted by an admiral who wanted him to return to the ship, return to duty.
Your girl's missing, and it's really interesting that Pike really could not care less. He was like, no, go away, stop, go away.
Send someone else.
Until he found out it was his number one. He's like, fine, I care. Let's do this. It was like Pike, and again, that was like such a difference because we can see he's really going through something, because in the first. And when we saw him in season 2 of Discovery, he was gung-ho. Oh, we have a fallen member. We need to go. He was battling that inferiority of missing out on the war. So he wanted to do everything and everything he could to help save people and do everything. And this one's like, send someone else. I don't know if I want to come back because I know how I die. I don't know if I want to deal with that.
Right. Yeah.
And then it cuts to Spock. And we see Spock is on a date with his betrothal. And I will have to say, it's very interesting that she was the one who proposed to Spock. And it was a really cute little verbal sparring they did back and forth, which I thought was really adorable. And when she finally asked him, you know, will you marry me? And he's like, I thought you never asked. I'm like, are you flirting with her? How dare you cheat on me? But okay, y'all cute though. Y'all cute together. I approve. But I just thought it was very interesting that she was the one who had to propose, or did propose, and not the other way around, because he's both Vulcan and human. So I didn't know if like his human side would come and be like, oh, I'm going to be the one to propose to you, or I don't know. What did you think of their little Spock scene with the girl that he's cheating on me with?
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice query answer, back and forth banter between them, and Spock made the connection that they had visited the same place a year ago, so it's their 1-year anniversary. And then it's interesting to see that instead of a ring, in Vulcan culture, they share a necklace with like a pendant. So that was interesting too. I would like to see like Spock's, like his father's, I don't know. I guess I just never picked it up from his parents, but it might be cool to go back and to look at some of that. After the proposal, they shared a kiss, and like the maitre d' interrupted them. It was like, no, not here. So I think in Vulcan society, there's no public displays of affection. I get that. Just.
And I feel like they're so repressed they need it.
But
like
they agreed
so
to take that back to their quarters.
Yes. And it's very interesting because you can see that Spock mentions other worlds and how like their seas differ. And she is very much Vulcan first. Like nothing compares to Vulcan. And when they get interrupted, Spock is still very much work first. And she's like, I'm not going to chase you across the galaxies. And I love the fact that, even though I slightly am jealous, I love the fact that she's giving it just as good as he's giving it. Like she's not rolling over and taking crap from him. I feel like, and sometimes we see in relationships that one always has to defer to the other. And I like in Star Trek, it's like they're on equal footing. She's like, no, you're not. I'm not going to chase you around the universe so we can get married. Understand that, like right now. Basically, you make me a priority because this is not a one-track relationship. I find it interesting that Spock answered the phone without a shirt on. And Pike had to stop, like, are you naked? And she's like, he was about to be. I love that she gives no Fs. I really can tell that she's a strong-willed woman. And I love that for Spock right now.
Yeah, and she clearly stated to Spock, you should have asked me, you should have queried me and asked if I was comfortable with this, not making an assumption to Pike, like, oh, this is nothing, it's okay for an interruption. And she was like, no, that's not the case. So yeah, she was standing her ground, and I appreciate that. It's interesting to see where this relationship goes, because we've seen Spock later on, and he's not married.
I hate when they make the character someone I like, and then I know what's going to come for them, and I'm just like, oh crap. Like, it's sometimes we see them portrayed and we're like, okay, we don't like you. So I'm happy that you guys didn't work out, because they portrayed it in such an awful manner. But when they portray such a strong-willed woman who is speaking the truth, I'm like, oh crap, you're gonna get your heart broken, and I have to root for it because I know it's coming, and I want my couple together, but I'm very sorry you're gonna get hurt in the process of this.
But I would love to see a Vulcan wedding.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I want to see a Vulcan wedding so bad. Ticket for 2, please. We're each other's dates. Tell your husband goodbye.
Will do. I'm sure her gown will be amazing.
Yes. And I could just see Spock and like his mother and father having a small little moment because Michael's not there to see it. Oh, sadness.
Yeah. Sarek and Amanda.
Yeah. So basically, this entire episode is all about a terrible first contact gone horrible for Starfleet. And this is now a rescue mission. This is no longer a first contact mission. This is a rescue mission where they're going to go and get the team members, including Pike's #1 girl, from this planet. And as they get there, we see that there's a new security chief. She butts heads, La'an. She butts heads with both Spock and Pike a little bit with her first initial assessment of the planet. And Spock is very much rules-based, and she's very much, this is dangerous based. And Pike is still stuck in fear of what's to come. And again, it's a different Pike than we've seen before, but we understand why he's acting this way. And we learned that the planet, they didn't really have warp technology for the purpose of warping into space. They had it for the pure fact to destroy their enemies. And it's a very different welcoming that than they were expecting. And we see that again, there's arguments on the bridge between La'an and Spock about how they should handle first contact. And I think Pike first makes his decision out of fear. What did you think about what they were actually doing? And like, this is a bomb, we need to figure out what we're doing.
Right. I think Leanne is more of a strategist, and maybe because of her security background, when she noticed that there was no one on the other ship, the USS Archer. Mm-hmm. There was no one over there, and there was no real signs of advanced technology. And so I think based on her previous background with the Gorn, she had like, she thought danger, like there's something wrong here, and she wanted the force field up. But Spock was like, no, that's against orders for us to do that. But we're all so glad that she did, because they immediately shot like proton missiles or something like that out to hit them. And good thing they were protected. And I think that helped change Pike's view of her, to think of her more as a strategist and a security chief, because she was right off the bat.
She really was. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. I said that Pike made the decision out of fear, and I misspoke. I meant to say the security chief, La'an, made the decision out of fear. Correcting myself, people.
But Pike had a scary moment there at the bridge.
Like, oh, no, he did.
He was paused. He didn't say like hit it. I think right away he saw his reflection of his the
burned
moment which he was dying, face. Right? Yeah. In the panel on his chair, the captain's chair, and there was some fear there within him, and everyone else in the crew was looking at him and concerned about him.
Because he made a point to keep saying, no one's going to die today. We're not going to lose anyone. And I don't think anyone went into this mission thinking that. And so then for that to be his, like, it's one of the things where it's like, okay, we're going to go do a normal first contact. It's not going to be a problem. And no one's going to die today. I wasn't expecting anyone to die today, but what do you know that I don't know, sir?
Right.
I thought this was a everyday mission, and now you're telling me that I'm not going to die. I wasn't expecting to die. So what danger do you know that I don't know that I need to know? Yeah, Pike is a very different right now. Pike is a very different Pike, because he hasn't come to terms with his future. And it's such an interesting topic, because you always think of people having to come to terms with their past. And when he had his conversation with Spock, it's like, he has to come to terms with the fact that he has just a little over a decade left to live. And he knows exactly how he's going to go out. He knows exactly like how and when, and he has to come to terms with it. And it's very interesting, because do you think you could come to terms with your future if you knew the exact date when you're going to die and how you're going to die?
See, I'm puzzled with that. And I think there may be a little issue here with the storyline, because I went back and I watched that episode with the Borat, and they didn't say that he was going to know when. So I'm still puzzled by that, but okay, I'll move forward. I think that is a big weight on your shoulders to know how and when, because you know it's anticipated. Now you can live as much joy as possible, but there's going to be a lot of fear the closer you get to that moment. For him, he's taking it to heart. I think most of us would, unless you're cold inside. But
party of one right here.
But I guess it shows also how ramifications for actions. But he also said that he was going to take this on to save the rest of the universe. So he understands that he did this for everyone else, but now it's on him. I think the biggest problem is that it's classified and he can't talk to other people except for Spock about this.
You summed it up perfectly. That's a great point. Let's talk about one of the big, maybe no-nos, where did this come from type conversation, medical science that we didn't really think could happen in Star Trek. A slight, not permanent, but a temporary DNA change by Nurse Chapel. And I thought they would do like a hologram or some like visual change, but like to physically change someone's DNA temporary. I've never seen that on Star Trek before. Have you?
No, and I am so shocked that they're introducing something new so early in the timeline, because this changes everything. Because the science is available, they should be able to use this for all away missions. And I'm also concerned because Nurse Chapel seems to be experimenting.
Oh, she's definitely experimenting.
Especially on Spock. And there's something really wrong with that.
She like, because she admitted this wasn't like, they're still in trials, and it has mostly worked. And she's like, well, I don't know how it's going to work on you, Spock, because, you know, your two DNAs mixed together. Like, we don't know how this is going to work on you. It could go by half. It could work fully. We don't know. You're going to need a booster, though, but we don't know when. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
And I know Pike knows that he's not going to die from this, but come on, he's putting the rest of the away mission team at risk here, because they could have another reaction, or in this case, it could wear off early.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. And we see the chief security officer. She rejects the sedatives because she's like, no, I'm going to feel everything. Again, it made me look at her a little sideways, like, honey, what you doing? Like, you don't have to act tough in front of the guys. Like, they're changing your DNA. I'm pretty sure that's going to hurt. Take the sedative. They did. And then we get to see Chapel interact with Spock a little bit. And we know that their history from the original series, that they have sort of a one-sided love triangle, but not really. Unrequited love between Chapel and Spock, mostly on Chapel's side. What do you think is going to happen between them? It's very hard to phrase that question because we sort of know what's already going to happen, but like, there's no guarantee that they're going to stick to the same, you know, storyline and formula with them. But like, what do you think of Chapel and Spock?
I don't like the idea of Chapel and Spock. I want Spock and T'Pring to live happily ever after if Spock is with someone. But I don't think Spock is as focused about his romantic life as he's not as open, it doesn't seem. He's not giving those vibes. But I have concerns about Chapel, and I wish the doctor was more involved with this research than the nurse. I understand wanting to team up and Chapel run after like one of the patients, but I would think for this cutting edge research that the doctor should be the one directing this procedure. Maybe it's just me.
I see what you're saying. I will add that maybe he wasn't the doctor who was involved with it, but whoever was like the head researcher should have been the person to inject everyone. Because that might not have been his specialty, the doctor that we had on Enterprise. So moving right along, because there's still a lot to discuss, and I could talk about some stuff for a while, but we're not going to get into that. We see them down on the planet Kylie, which is a very interesting name for a planet. Kylie 279, I believe. This planet is made up of two fractions, basically wanting to kill each other. And so Pike goes back and forth on the whole general order, like, this is what we have to do, or we can't do this. Screw it. No, it's the rules. We don't know what we need to do, while he's trying to like save Starfleet's crew members. And we see another advanced technology of them being able to beam something directly into Spock's eyes, so that way he can pass through the retinal scan, which is dangerous in my opinion, because who's to say someone won't do that to themselves to get on a Starfleet ship?
Right. And this was another experiment that could have gone terribly wrong. What if it beamed into the other eye or somewhere else or something? And why didn't they just give him a booster that way?
And then we see them all get on the elevator and they're going down. And then we see that there is a woman who is working in the same building that they're making their way through. And she looks at Captain Pike and she gives him a flirtatious smile. And I'm like, dang, Pike, you still got it. But at first, I will say, I think I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. I initially thought that was number one for a second. Like, and she had somehow was disguising herself to try and find a way off the planet. Because in the way she looked at Spock's ears, it made me think, oh, she's recognizing them. She's knowing who they are. And to find out, nope, that was not her. That was just some random girl who was giving the come hither eyes to some random guy that she met on the elevator. And then we get to see that Pike saves number one and saves the rest of the crew. And it's very interesting to see number one since the last time we saw her on Discovery. I feel like she's a little bit more hardened. Still like her no nonsense self, like straight to the point. But I feel like she's a little bit more closed off than she was in Discovery. Like she doesn't have that air of like happiness about her. I don't know if that's the right word.
Well, she's been in that confinement with the three of them been in that confinement room for a few days and only like a toilet and sink, and they've been like digging a little hole with a spoon. So she wasn't in the most joyous mood.
Sorry, I meant like in general, like when we saw her throughout the rest of the episode too. Like
I just wanted to showcase that, like,
in jail. No, I'm not happy I'm in jail. I'm not happy I'm in jail. But I don't know. I just felt like there was this spark missing, even when she spoke later on within the episodes, when she met La'an again, and then we found out that's the reason why she went there. That's the reason she La'an took the job, because she wanted to save number one, which is a whole thing where like I feel like Pike should have been able to read that in her file, but neither here nor there. There's a lot of some misconceptions. And they are basically saying, look, we got to get out of here. But the only way we can get out of here is we get the elevator and go up, because we're too far below ground. They can't beam us out. And Pike, again, changes his mind on the general order and is like, screw it. We're going to stop these people from going to war. Because it comes out that the only reason this planet found warp was because of the actions at the end of Discovery. And so Starfleet felt responsible for giving them technology that they weren't ready for in the process of that big battle, which made me think, how many other planets could have possibly saw what happened? Because I never thought of it that way, because in their world, in General Order 1, you cannot interfere with the planet's natural progression. And so that made me think of like how we are right now. NASA just released that new telescope that has those deep, real deep space photos. Everyone's like freaking out of them. To me, they just look like another screensaver. I don't know. This is why I'm not an astrologist. But it made me think of, what if there's a planet like us who, and like Kylie did apparently, they picked up something on their radar. They picked something up on their satellites, on their telescopes. How many other planets could have possibly been impacted by, maybe not even just Starfleet, but maybe by any other planets doing their own warping deep space discovery? I'm like, oh, that's a planet in the sky? What's going on? Well, that's a ship in the sky? Whoa, how are they flying that fast? That opened up a whole new branch of WTFs to me. What did you think about that possibility?
I thought this is an interesting storyline and an interesting like twist of events, because not only did it show there was the battles with was that the Section 31 at that time?
Yeah, it was a final battle.
Right. So Section 31, the Kelpians, Enterprise, Discovery, all at one time. But then also they opened up the wormhole that allowed them to go to a different dimension, a different time. So there was a lot of technology that was, I don't know, involved in that. And based on what number one was saying, several light years away could see that if they had probes and telescopes. So yeah, it's a interesting concept, and whenever there's lurkers, they don't necessarily use something the way you think they're going to use it. They have the power. They're going to use it for their own benefit. And in this case, because they want to annihilate the other half that they don't agree with. Yeah.
They made a bomb, people. They took flight technology and said, you know what, we're going to blow up people with it. But Pike, being the badass that he is, and we're starting to see, as the episode goes on, we're starting to see more and more of his like initial, from the Pike we fell in love with the Discovery, coming back. And after he tries to speak to the head of one fraction and is like basically got shot down, he was like, screw it. Pike, override, drop the ship down, let everyone see you. Like, you're talking about who has the bigger gun. I think that's me. And I'm like, okay, Pike. I had to pause. When I was watching, I had to pause, and I just busted out laughing. I was like, he said measure, and I'm going to be bigger. What did you think of that scene? Like, that was just the biggest piece of, you know what, F your rules. I'm going to make this decision for you. Like, that was the biggest slap in the face to General Order 1.
That was my big concern with that. Like, okay, well then, Pike, you decided with Spock to stay behind. You could have beamed out like the rest of them, but you decided to stay behind and then help, I don't know, make a truce between these two factions that you don't know about. You know nothing about this. Everything you thought you know, wrong. So you decide you don't want to just like interfere in them, but you want to override the Federation's policies and showcase that there's more technology out there, and who knows what else they're going to do with this additional information. So I understand he has good intentions. I just thought he was doing one of those leaps, one of those Michael leaps. Like, this is something Michael would do, Michael Burnham. I wasn't expecting that from Pike.
It was very much, like, listen to me. I'm going to force you guys to come to peace, whether you like it or not.
Right. He could have beamed back, talked to the admiral, and then decided with Federation how to proceed next.
Mm-hmm. He really could have, and he did none of that.
He should have.
No, you're right. He should have, and he did none of that. So we see later that Pike is back on the ship, and the truce is happening between the two fractions, basically because they're forced to come to peace. And then Pike again is like, I don't like the way that this decision is going. So he beams down and tells everyone about his Earth, like about Earth and like the history, about World War III, and about everything of like basically the direction they're turning their planet into. Which, hear me out, great intentions, a bad execution. Because again, it is not for you to decide for someone else. It is not for you, because that is such an American thing to do. To go into a situation where you're not warranted or wanted and basically say, you're wrong, here's why you're wrong, and this is why you should not do this, and listen to me, I'm correct. And while I know that Pike is basically trying to stop this planet, because I know that Pike wants nothing to, like, he doesn't want to control them, he doesn't want to rule them, none of that. He wants them to join Starfleet, neither here nor there, but he's like, I'm trying to save you guys from making the same mistakes my planet did. And it did suck seeing like the Earth sort of destroy itself, and seeing DC destroyed, and seeing like all of our landmarks is like blown up because of war. It's like, I'm trying to save you from that. But there's always that risk, and that risk of when do you cross the line? Because you can try and do the right thing all the time, but just because you're like, do the ends justify the means?
So the cultures are completely different. History is different.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know their constitution, their governance, and they could have worked this out together. And what, Pike, are you going to like beam down there every 10 years to check them out and then overrule them? Like, are you going to continue to monitor the situation? I'm just really disappointed in this.
That's it's like, you want to help, but is it your place to help? Like, Pike, I love that you're trying to stop. Like, you have to let people learn on their own. Like, you cannot protect someone from everything. Then you went ahead and said, I don't like your decision, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. And it's like, ha! That's where you're wrong, Pike. Everything else up until that point, like, you can't really tell someone else in another culture that they're wrong. You can say that you disagree, that it's completely fine for you to tell someone you disagree with the way that they're doing something, but it's not for you to make them agree and come to your side. All that you can do is say, hey, look, that's not for me. I don't agree with that. I personally think you're wrong, but you know what? I don't have a hand in this. This is not my place. So if you want my thoughts, come find me. Otherwise, I'm wiping my hand of the situation. And Pike did the very American thing and said, I think you're wrong. Here's why I think you're wrong. And you're going to do it my way because my way is correct.
Yeah, because otherwise, Georgiou could have helped negotiate a truce between the what's it called?
Kelpians and the Baul.
Bowels, yes. When she first went down and met Saru. That this just changes everything. I don't like this aspect of the storyline. And I do like that there's one line. And then that's when Pike said, "Take me to your leader." And I thought that was cute.
Because I like how you said you don't like this line, because like in my opinion, it opens up a door that Pike may not have meant to open. Because while we know as like the viewers that he had literally the best intentions, like he had no personal stake in their decision, like he didn't. And while we know that he really wanted what was best for, like he didn't really tell them how to come to peace. He was just like, look, y'all gotta find peace. Even though we know he had the best intentions, this opens a door to someone with less admirable intentions to say, well, he did it. So it's a slippery slope, which is why the rules are there, regardless if we like them, because I don't always like them.
Right. And I think the Admiral made that clear at the very end. He said that he had to pull a lot of strings to make this happen, but because it's classified, it never really happened, then he was able to use a loophole to ensure that they're out of trouble, Spock, number one, and Pike. But he was disappointed, and I think the Federation was disappointed as well.
Yep. Nope. Yep. That's the only way he survived. He got through that was because you can't really punish him for something that you're not allowed to admit is the only reason it happened, is because you can't admit something else happened. How you gonna punish me? So then we come towards the end of the episode and we see that we have our crew on board. We have everyone talking, and finally they kept mentioning Kirk all throughout this episode, and he was like coming to the bridge. And I have to say, that was like a slap in the face, because I was expecting to see James T. Kirk come up on board, and we get George Samuel Kirk. Who the heck is George Samuel Kirk?
The brother of James T. Kirk, who I guess reports to Spock now.
I don't want him. You're not the Kirk I'm looking for. I was very, because I mean, come on, they knew who we were looking for. This, like, you kept saying Kirk. Oh, okay. I don't want George Samuel Kirk. Give me my James T. Kirk, please. Whatever. But what did you think of that, like, switcheroo?
I thought that was cute. It was a little Easter egg, and I'm sure James T. Kirk has to be working his way up to one day become captain of Enterprise. So I think he picks up the captain chair after Pike leaves. So it's just not ready yet. It's just not his time. But that's okay. There was a few other Easter eggs. Pike took a shuttle over to the Enterprise, and that shuttle was called the Stamets.
Yes.
So that was cute. And so then Una rescued Leanne on the USS Martin Luther King Jr., which I found interesting. So
very interesting.
A whole ship was named after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And then also, in the protesting scenes, they were actually using shots from the January 6th insurrection.
Not a great day in our country.
No, but that's what Pike showed when he like took over their screen and their negotiation. And I felt like that was a little Trumpy right there, but taking over that screen. But so it's interesting that Paramount and Star Trek was using live, I shouldn't say live, but like real protest footage in the series.
Because we could say, sugar, we're going down, down. We're heading to that direction. But that's a conversation for another podcast.
Yes.
So we are coming to the end of this episode. We're going to have about a few minutes left. So predictions. What do you think is going to happen this season?
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about Spock and T'Prang's engagement. I'm a sucker for space romance. And so that, and I really like away missions. Not so fond of this away mission, but I'm looking forward to more away missions because this series is called Strange New Worlds. So I think we're going to visit other worlds. What do you think about what's coming up next?
I'm loving the episodic sagas and not a season story arc. So I'm hoping that it sticks to that. Like there can be one overall theme of the season, maybe, but not to where every episode is dependent. And when I mean every episode, I literally mean every episode. I don't want a single episode connected to each other. Like it's dependent on the one beforehand. I don't want that because we get enough of that in Discovery. I want every episode to be something different, another story, so we can learn more and more and more about these characters because there's so much to see. And I don't need 10 episodes of one storyline anymore. I don't. I need 10 episodes of 10 different storylines so we can see something from 10 different points of views and really get to know these characters for how they handle multiple situations, not how they just handle one long situation, because we got that from them in season 2 of Discovery. So that is what I'm looking forward to. As always, I'm Andrea.
I'm Manika.
And live long and prosper.